Do y'all remember the best Cinderella runs in March Madness history? You don't? Well, we're here to remind you, so let's get into it.
Welcome back to Life in the Stands. We got Jake and Zach on the podcast today. We're excited to talk about some of the best Cinderella runs in March Madness history, including Sister Jean's Loyola Chicago team and the 7-seeded UConn team that won the national championship just about a decade ago. Before we jump into all those things, I want to remind everyone to like and subscribe. We really appreciate all the support. Jake has been going live on TikTok every single day throughout March Madness and every weekday moving forward, so make sure you go join those. And we also have a March Madness bracket group that we'll link down in the description. Almost 200 people in there already, a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a free podcast t-shirt. So with all that being said, let's jump into the first Cinderella run that we want to talk about. And this is the 2018 Loyola Chicago team. They were an 11 seed, the first 11 seed to make it to the Final Four. A couple of cool moments, but I think really the face of this team became Sister Jean as the tournament kind of kept on going. Everybody loved her at the games and just cheering on the team.
As Dante Ingram made that buzzer-beating shot against Miami, everybody just thought it was Sister Jean's luck. So that was like the main storyline of that tournament. And we all love a good story, you know? That's why we love the Cinderella runs every year. That's why March Madness is so great. So hopefully we have another one sometime soon.
It was super cool to see just the momentum of the team. Loyola Chicago, most people didn't know, they actually have a rich history in the tournament as well. They had made the Final Four all the way back in 1963. They also beat Kansas State by double digits in the Elite Eight to make it to the Final Four. So it wasn't just like buzzer beaters and close games. They kind of showed up and beat some teams down too. But moving on, let's go to another 11 seed, and this was actually the first team to play in a first four games, so one of the play-in games, and still make it to the Final Four. And this was the 2011 VCU squad. They stunned Kansas in the Elite Eight. Now, they beat USC, they beat Georgetown, Purdue, Florida. So this was an exciting team to watch.
It was definitely an exciting team, and it also gave a lot of play-in teams hope going forward. And now you see teams winning their play-in, whether it's 11 seed or 16 seed, winning their first-round matchups. We've seen some 1 seeds go down in recent years, and I think it all started with this VCU squad that showed that they can make a run as a play-in team.
Yeah, they kind of showed it wasn't a disadvantage, right? And it makes me think of the UNC team that just absolutely beat the brakes off of San Diego State in their most recent play-in game, right? So now it makes me kind of think, shoot, like is UNC being underrated going into this year? Like maybe there's something there that people aren't really accounting for. But let's move on to the first 15 seed that we want to talk about. And a lot of people remember this 15 seed because they kind of got the nickname of Dunk City. This was almost like the Clippers with Lob City, but college style. And this was Florida Gulf Coast in 2013 as well. They reached the Sweet 16. They were the first 15 seed ever do so. Super fun to watch.
I was going to say, the only reason this is really here is because they are so fun to watch and they had that nickname. And I feel like it was the era and time that it happened to. Like you said, Lob City with the Clippers. It was literally the college version and the underdog college version of that. So that was definitely probably one of my favorite Cinderella teams growing up. And I feel like that's the one that everybody will always remember. And again, another team that gives other like high double-digit seeded teams hope.
Right, yeah, like a 15 seed can beat a 2 seed. It happened. And they beat Georgetown. So it wasn't like a 2 seed that wasn't a blue blood or maybe didn't belong there. Like Georgetown is a pretty consistent March team. So yeah, it was really, really fun to watch. One of the most thrilling underdog teams for sure. I don't think we'll see another 15 seed quite like Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, I'd like to see and just go back like how many dunks per game this team averaged. And in full transparency, when we were making this list even, I didn't have them initially because they had only made the Sweet 16. And Jake was like, no, like, listen, you gotta have Florida Gulf Coast on there because they were just so fun to watch. Moving on to the next 15 seed, though, this was St. Peter's just a couple of years ago. So this 15 seed actually reached the Elite Eight. They upset Kentucky in the opening round. So this was, a smaller school that somehow made its way into the Elite Eight.
I was gonna say, I think the catch here is that how they were like a smaller school, and it's Kentucky, right? So Kentucky has their name. You don't expect them to choke in the first round like that. But I don't even want to call it a choke job from Kentucky. St. Peter's just showed up and played. St. Peter's had a lot of talent on that team, and it was very underrated for a size of that matter, like a small school of that matter. And it was also significant because that was the downfall of Kentucky's John Calipari era. So.
Yeah,
Um,
that really ended it, right? Like that was the end of John Calipari in Kentucky. So it was definitely significant in terms of that. Um, and they also beat a couple of other really quality teams, Murray State, Purdue. They eventually lost to North Carolina, but um, in terms of giving teams hope, right? Not only are they a 15 seed beating a 2 seed, but they're a tiny school beating a 2 seed. So giving a lot of hope to smaller schools across the nation that they could show up to a March Madness game and potentially make a lot of noise. Let's move on to the last team that we're going to talk about, and this is the number 7 seeded UConn team with Shabazz Napier, Ryan Boatwright. Um, and they were the 7 seed in 2014, ended up winning the national championship, one of the lowest seeds in March Madness history to do that.
Yeah, and they beat a number one seed, number two seed along the way. And Shabazz Napier is one of those names you won't really hear about unless you're talking about March Madness. He made the NBA and he was a pretty solid player, but everybody remembers his ability to take over in that tournament. That's why they won the national championship.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people don't remember too is that Shabazz and Kemba played together, right?
Exactly.
So they were kind of like 1A, 1B for a little bit there, and I think everyone expected UConn to fall off. And then Shabazz showed up the next couple of years, and they were just as good, including winning one of the titles. And that's going to wrap up our Cinderella stories for March Madness that have already happened. But just like every year, there's a lot of good potential candidates for Cinderella stories in this March Madness bracket. We're each going to share one before we wrap up and close out the episode for today. Jake, who is your Cinderella prospect going into 2025 March Madness?
A team that I really look forward to watching upcoming in this tournament is the number 8 seed Gonzaga. So Houston tends to underperform in the tournament. I believe the Zags will win their first round game handedly after they just won their conference tournament, mind you. And you and I talked about this before. Momentum matters when you're entering the March Madness tournament. So they're going to ride that momentum out. They're going to upset Houston. I actually have McNeese facing them in that upcoming round as well, so you could technically count them as a Cinderella. But I actually have the Zags going as far as the Elite Eight.
Yeah, and an 8 seed making it that far would be a little bit of a Cinderella story. It's always nice to see like a 6 or 7 seed or higher in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four, that kind of stuff. It just makes it more fun. I'm going to take a blue blood that had to play in a play-in game this year, and that's going to be UNC. And I think UNC potentially just should have been a tournament team straight up with the way they handled their play-in game. And I really like the experience they bring to the table too. RJ Davis is legit, and he showed up. Even though he hasn't had that great of a season, he showed up in that play-in game. And I think at one point he was 6 for 6 from three.
He ended 6 for 6 from three.
Ended 6 for 6 from three. So RJ Davis is the truth. I like the experience UNC has. I think they're underestimated this year, which is dangerous for every team that they have to play in the tournament going forward. So that is going to wrap up this episode, though, today. I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. Remember to like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that follow button. Let us know down in the comments which Cinderella story you think is the best in history and which team you think has the best chance of becoming a Cinderella story this year. I want to remind everyone that we have a bracket challenge going over on ESPN. We'll link it in the description. I already have over 200 people in there, so make sure you get in there, join quick. You can make up to 3 brackets for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a Life in the Stands t-shirt. And we'll see you on the next episode.